country is going to hell. The critical job of institutions such as Heridges to lay the groundwork, and Heridges does such an incredible job at that. This is a great group, and they're going to lay the groundwork and detail plans for exactly what our movement will do and what your movement will do when the American people give us a colossal mandate to save America. And that's coming. That's coming.
Did you catch that right there? That massive thing? Did you catch that? You probably didn't, because he was slurring his words and his brain is rotting out of his nose. He was all over her. You can't really tell what he's saying. But what he's saying is the Heritage Foundation, massive, influential right-wing think tank for literally decades, which helped to launch and create and is running Project 2025, is going to lay the groundwork. They do great work, and we already know he did a significant number of the things that the Heritage Foundation was calling for in his first term, and they're going to lay the groundwork. So that is footage from 2022 of him talking about them laying the foundation. So now they're laying the foundation with Project 2025. And of course, in the last week or two, ever since people started talking more about that project, he's been like, oh no, I don't know anything about it, man. I've never heard of those people. Who are Heritage? Who are they? Well, we know that that's ridiculous. We know that it's laughable. And now more and more footage is coming out of him hugging the group to him. And if that's not enough, by the way, nearly 140 former Trump aides and advisors have contributed to Project 2025, including 6 former members of his cabinet, 4 of his ambassadors, RNC members appointed to their positions in coordination with the Trump campaign. And we have more footage about the incredibly tight link between Donald Trump, his Agenda 47, and Project 2025. But I think at this point, we should probably be able to lay to rest the idea that it is not going to be forming the foundation of what he'll do as president. We'll get to that footage in just a sec, but Mondale, what did you make of that?
John, can you just tell me who is the Heridges Institute? I need that like a new hairspray. Can I use that for my curls? Listen, Donald Trump, I don't know if he was slurring his words because he never heard of the Heritage Institute, like he never heard of NATO, or because he was trying to lie and he knew he was gonna get caught in that lie. But hell, it's Donald Trump and all he does is lie. So listen, I am so disgusted with this, but it's also a trend that we're not hearing anywhere other than here, right? We've not heard Donald Trump try to lie when there's whenever 140 of your aides doing something, you're doing it. Period. Yeah. That's 104. You can't distance yourself from that. That's like me saying I'm not me. Period. The Project 2025 is a product of everything Donald Trump said, regardless of how much he tried to run from it.
Yeah, and also, okay, so you mentioned we got the 140 people. So obviously massive institutional and personnel ties between Heritage, Project 2025, and Donald Trump. He literally is going out and saying, they're awesome, we're gonna do all this stuff. Also, under the first term, he largely allowed them to dictate big portions of his agenda that he was either ignorant of or didn't care to actually exercise control over. But I think that the most damning argument against the idea that there's distance between them is that the Project 2025 agenda, when you look at all the list of things they want to do, is radical, but it's not different than Donald Trump. Like if some lefty think tank came out with a whole bunch of crazy proposals, and then the right was to be like, well, there was a person who contributed to Joe Biden on there, then you could have an argument, okay, as to whether it's likely to influence him. Because you could take a look at the policies and then take a look at what Joe Biden has done and said and see, well, is there a linkage there? In this, there's nothing but links. They're focusing on the exact same topics that he wants to focus on. I want someone to tell me what is on Project 2025 that Trump has said he's against. I know that coming out of the big conversation about Project 2025, when he's like, I don't know who they are, he's not telling us what they've pushed for that he's against. He'll say he doesn't know. He'll say he's not familiar. He's not saying, oh, point number 1's crazy, never gonna happen. Points 2 through 5, we'll see. Point 6, not in a million years. He's not doing that because it is his agenda. So anyway, with that, let's turn to some more evidence. We're just gonna pile up and pile up and pile up the evidence. So here is one of those 140, Paul Dans, former Trump administration official, director of Project 2025, on a right-wing podcast last year talking about the relationship between that group and Donald Trump.
Is it all right for us to to assume that President Trump is committed to the Project 2025, so that if we go through the effort of recruiting all these people and vetting them and training them, that he will, say, okay, when I'm elected, these are my people.
Our project is what we call candidate neutral or candidate agnostic. It's there to serve the next conservative standard bearer, whoever that might be. Very important, though, in that is making sure the various candidates are aware of what we're doing, are bought in. Ultimately, yes, I think President Trump's very bought in with this. We're fortunate to have John McEntee, who many of your listeners may know helmed the Office of Presidential Personnel in what I would call the fourth quarter of the first term of Trump.
Okay, so there you have question laid out by, I'm gonna guess, Newt Gingrich's brother to Michael Cohen's brother. And he answered that, yeah, look, there's a great relationship, but it honestly doesn't even matter, because if for some reason it wasn't Donald Trump, if he goes to like jail or something, then some other Republican will do it. And look, I think that's honest in both parts. One, another Republican would do it. If it wouldn't matter if it was Nikki Haley or whatever. But also, I don't even think that they particularly care about it being Donald Trump. I think they like that it's Trump, in that he has a few things that he'll want to focus on and put a lot of his attention on, and the rest of it, he'll just be like, whatever, I don't care, don't bother me with the details, just do your crazy stuff or whatever. And so yeah, they have that relationship. And we can talk more about that, but I also want to just point out, we are rolling towards truly radical policy in a lot of areas. Is going to devastate a lot of communities. That's what they're pushing for, that's what they've been working for. And isn't it weird that he can be so bored about it? We're gonna devastate these communities. You're not gonna have any bodily autonomy. I don't care about what you think about your gender. It's never gonna happen. And they're just so bored and lazy about the fascism that they're sending racing down the pike towards us. When you click the join button and become a tier 2 member, you get access to all of our weekly top 10 lists. What are you waiting for?